In the 15th century BC, a man by the name of Abram, later called Abraham, Genesis 17:5, after he made Ishmael, the covenant of flesh, circumcision, Genesis 17:11, with the Elohim, received a prophecy. He was told that his descendants would be taken into a land that was not their own and oppressed for 400 years. These oppressors were identified as the Amorites, which means mountain dwellers, in Genesis 15:13-16. The Amorites, are the albino cursed seed of Canaan, Genesis 10:15-18, the son of Ham, who was the son of Noah. There were two bondages that the descendants of Abraham, Ishmaelites, and the Israelites, were destined to be in. The old incidents, Exodus 3:10, Ramses II, and the new incident, 2 Kings 25, Nebuchadnezzar, the second, son of Nabopolassar. Some people get both of these incidents confused with the Israelites, in Miriam, Egypt, originally called Kemet, being oppressed or 400 years, Genesis 15:13. They were in Miriam, Egypt, for 430 years, Exodus 12:40, and oppressed by the Pharaoh, Ramses II, yet they were treated honorably by the pharaohs prior to Moses, also called Thutmose or Thothmose II's coming. As a matter of fact, Moses, was born at the beginning of Seti I, also known as Sethos in Greek, who reigned from 1304 to 1237 BCE, as the third king of the 19th dynasty, Exodus 1:8. Moshe only lived 120 years, Deuteronomy 34:7. 40 of those years were in the desert, after the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, Deuteronomy 29:5, so, do not be confused. You are Zerah, seeds, descendants, of Abraham, that have been scattered, yet shall again be gathered, Zephaniah 3219-20. Here, you will receive the way it was given to you, by El Elo, Anu. Heed the message. Do not turn away the Ankh, a Sumer and Egyptian symbol called the key of life, which was the original cross, for it unlocks the door to eternal life. Thousands of years ago, an event took place that would affect the world until the end of days. That event was the fall of he who is called Nakash, the Whisperer, a leader of tribe of human reptilian, and his followers, 200 in all, were cast out of the six-star, six-sun constellation called Orion, with 6 solar systems. They then took refuge on the planet Earth in a city known as Saturn. It was later called Nude, an abominable nudist camp, and even later moved to become Rome. At the Tigris-Euphrates rivers, the old city, today called the Persian Gulf. Nod was a city that Nudimmud, Enki, son of Anu, set up and invited all of the Hindu deities who came in their Vimanas flying machines. There the 200 disagreeable beings mixed in with these disagreeable giants called the Anakites or Nephilim, Genesis 6:4, and bred a disagreeable race of hairy dark-skinned tall people. The city Nod, Genesis 4:16, was also called Abaddon, Revelations 9:11. The Aramaic, Hebrew, word Abaddon means place of destruction where the father of ruin is. And Apollyon meaning, destroyer is the Greek name for the word Abaddon, mentioned in Revelation 12:9. Abaddon is mistakenly used as the name of a person called the devil or Satan, however it is not. It is the place where he resides, it's not Humbaba or Zun, himself. Nakash, the whisperer is found in Genesis 3:1, one's the true title of the devil, whose name was Humbaba whom you call Satan, Job 1:6, Iblis, Quran 2:34, the serpent, the evil one, Shaitan, Samael, Lucifer, Halel, Hasatan, Canaz, the dragon, Revelation 9:11. This fall took place because all of the Anunnaki, those Anu sent from heaven to earth, were told to bow down out of respect to a newly fashioned being, Zakar, Adam, Quran 15:29. However Nakash, who was Azazel, the one removed, at the time did not want to bow to Adam, Quran 2:34, because he was created before him Zakar, Adam, in the previous sun cycle, of fire, Quran 55:15, and Zakar, Adam, was made during the moon cycle from the dust of the ground, Genesis 2:7. Thus he refused to bow down at the command of Allah, Anu, the Most High. He was wroth and manned a craft and started going from planet to planet. He was angry and filled with Naru Samyun or Samuel meaning hot poisonous wind, thus he inherited the title Samael meaning poison those of El. Then all of his host asked him why was he so angry. Samael was angry because he felt Zakar, Adam, was going to cause mischief and cause bloodshed, Quran 2:30. So he rallied 200 followers and they united with him and tried to stop the beginning or development of this newly fashioned being for 600 Earth years, known as the grafting or cloning of Zakar, Adam. Thus, these beings who united fashioned being for 600 Earth years, known as the grafting or cloning of Zakar, Adam. Thus, these beings who united with him transformed from seraphim to cherubim, from agreeable to disagreeable, from benevolent to malevolent beings, and became known as the 200 fallen angelic beings. When you look at Revelation 12:7-9, you are told of a war that took place between the dragon, Tarnush, and his negative angelic beings, cherubim, against Michael, Murdoch, and his positive angelic beings, seraphim, all called Elohim, these beings, or Anunnaki. There is a big misconception when it comes to the truth about Nakash, the Whisperer, and his followers. That misconception, or lie, is that he, and his followers of devils are spirits, ghosts, or spooks, as many claim today, or just white people. Do not allow yourselves to be confused. Nakash, the devil, and the 200 fallen angelic beings are physical beings, men and women just like you, black and white devils. You're caught up on the word beings. The word beings means, the state or fact of existing or living, one lives or exists or is assumed to do so, of physical and mental qualities that make a person. That is why they are called beings. Being is a physical description or attribution or thing. You are human beings. Thus, angelic beings are physical, with agreeable or benevolent natures and disagreeable or malevolent natures. Do you still doubt? Then you should take a look at Daniel 9:21, where it speaks of the angelic being Gabriel, Nusku, as a man, Ish, male living being. Then go further and read Yekakel, Ezekiel 28:14-18, Isaiah 14:12-21 and Revelation 13:18, and Quran 72-6. These all speak of the devil, as a male living being, Ish, bound to dwell on the earth. Let's go even further to Genesis 3:15 and I quote, "And I will arouse hatred in the midst of your descendants and Eve's, Nekabah's, descendants, your hate will be cunning and conniving as to approach from the lower heel as a snake when it bites, and their hate will be to bruise your heads." Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. The fact that the word Seedzera is used for both woman and the serpent shows that they were both physical beings. Spirits do not have sperm and ovum, and they don't have chromosomes, or have children. Therefore, offspring cannot be used in a spiritual sense. You know that Nakash, the Whisperer, called the serpent, is not actually a snake. A snake is merely a metaphoric analogy because it is low to the ground as it crawls on its belly, hisses like a whisper, and most are poisonous, which is how the character of Nakash, the Whisperer, is described. The war that took place in heaven, Shemayim, meaning skies, up there, was because of Nakash's refusal to bow in respect to Zakar, Adam, Quran 2:34. He was ordered by Anu, he who is above, the heavenly one, along with the rest of the Elohim, angelic beings, to bow down out of respect to Zakar, Adam. Nakash refused, giving him the name Iblis, meaning rebellious one, Quran 2:34, from the root word balasa to rebel, and was, therefore, cast out, Revelation 12:9, from what you call heaven, to dwell on Eretz, earth, in a place called Nod by the Elohim Anunnaki who came down here, to a place they call Eridu. Quran 7:25, he, Rudwan, said, in it, the earth, you will give life and live, and die, and from it, the earth, you will be brought out. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. He, Kalkal, Ormel, Rudwan, is speaking to Zakar, Adam, Nekabah, Eve, and Nakash, devil. So, do not be confused. Nakash is a being appearing as a man, Basher, in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, and in Aramaic Hebrew, meaning mortal in the skin. And he intends to make good on his promise in Quran 15:39-40, and I quote, Quran 15:39-40, he Nakash, Al-Kanaz, the Whisperer, said, O my Rab, who is my master, because you have left me to go astray, verily I will make sin look good to them in the planet earth, and I Nakash, the Whisperer, will cause them to go astray, all of them. Except your slaves, those purified ones, Al-Muklejana. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Many of you have accepted Nakash's promise over that of El-Elos. Therefore, Quran 15:43 applies to you, and I quote, Quran 15:43, and surely hell Jahannam is certainly promised to them, every one of them. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Nakash has set forth his plan to make evil fair seeming, Isaiah 5:20, as well as to make you believe that time brings about the change of ways and laws. This is found in Daniel 7:25, among other places. Many of you did not realize that another event took place that would affect Nakash and his followers, as well as many of you today up until the time of the following event. The event that took place was the curse that was placed upon Canaan, through Ham, from Noah, as a result of Ham, looking at the naked body of his father Noah. When you look at Genesis 9:25, and he, Noah, son of Lamech, said to Ham, the curse will be upon your son Canaan the albino, a slave, Abed, workers, of slaves, Lulu Amilu, he will be to his brothers the Shemites and Japhethites, the non-albinos. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. You see that Canaan, was cursed to be a servant of servants unto his brethren, and marked as the so-called curse of leprosy, as many believe to have been put on Canaan, which manifested through the albino race of lepers who inhabited the Caucasus Mountains, Quran 18:25. Notice that Deuteronomy 7:2-3 says that friendship and intermarriages with Canaanites were forbidden. Quran 35:6 says that Nakash is an enemy and that you must treat him as such, and Quran 4:119 warns us not to take Nakash as a friend. Take him as a friend if you choose, but be ready to spend an eternity with your friend. If you look at the original translations of the scriptures, it will clear up the confusion about Nakash, whom you call Satan, the devil, the serpent, or the dragon. Quran 4:119, and I, the evil one, the reptilian, will cause them, the so-called Jews, and Christians, and idol-worshipping tribes, during the time of the newsbearer Muhammad, to go astray. And I will certainly stir vain desires in them, and I will command them, that they will cut off the ears of the cattle, called Baha'ira, a polytheistic practice of pagan Arabs, and I will command them so that they will change the source's creation. And as for him who takes Satan, the reptilian, for a friend, other than the source, El Elo, he indeed shall lose, be clearly lost. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Quran 7:16-17, he, Iblis, Samael, Nakash, Al-Kanaz, the rebellious, malevolent being said, I swear. As you, Adam Zakar, caused me to go astray, I, the devil, will sit and wait for them, Zakar, seat on your narrow path of the ones who stand up straight. Then I will certainly come from before their own hands, and from behind them, and from their right, and even from their left, and you will not find most of them grateful. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Quran 15:39, he Nakash, Al-Kanaz, the whisperer, said, O my Rab, who is master, because you have left me to go astray, verily I will make sin look good to them in the planet earth, and I Nakash, the whisperer, will cause them to go astray, all of them. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Daniel 7:25, and he will speak great words against the Elia, the Most High, and will wear out the Holy One of Elion, the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they will be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. In order for Nakash to keep these promises, he uses tricknology. Tricknology is simple, but complex. It is the presentation to you of the truth of Elion El, the Most High, the highest El, as well as the lie of Nakash. His goal is to get you to choose his lie over El's truth. He has been very successful. For Nakash's plan to work, he must cast a spell of sleep, the spell of Kingu, or Leviathan, on the Enoshites, then present that truth and lie to you in an attempt to make the lie your choice, or, at the least, confusion sets in, and there follows frustration. Therefore, turning from the whole matter of righteousness. Thus, unguided, society depicts the morals of the individual. And a corrupt society molds a corrupt person. Out of the truth, he makes this new untruth. What you must understand is that this spell of sleep, Kingu, that was, and is continuously enforced every day for 6,000 years of the Elohim, desisting place called the Sabbath, 3,600 years to go home and 3,600 years to return, that's 7,200 years, subtract 6,000 years left with 1,200 years, which bring us to the 7,000 years. You will have a 1,000-year period with them. Revelation 24, this is not spookism. Then add your 400 years of bondage with the remaining 200 years and you get the original 600 years to clone you. All time is complete. If you break 1,200 into 2 you get 600 plus 600. The spell casting still is enforced today through devil vision or television, tell lies visually, which has subliminal messages that you may not pick up consciously, but your subconscious mind does, and it doesn't forget. For example, if I say, are you on a diet? Now let's see what this word means. Die as in death, and T in the English language is for something in the past tense. You don't even realize what you are saying. These are the instruments of Pan, the music demon, the father of panic, and most forms of entertainment. This spell causes Enoshites, Enosites, to think irrationally, and in an irrational amount of time. Example, spell the word york. The white of the egg is called a what? If your answer to this LS yolk, you are wrong, it is called albumin, egg white. This is all a part of tricknology. Yahuwah Elohim tells you in Deuteronomy 7:3 not to intermarry with Canaanites. But, television and magazines, Magah, from mega meaning big, zine from the Ashuric/Syriac, Arabic, word zana and Aramic, Hebrew, meaning fornication, 2 Chronicles 21:11, portray certain types of women as the most beautiful women in the world and you flock to them. But, you smile and love them, and then snarl and kill your own people. Deuteronomy 5:7-8 says, not to put gods, Elohim, with or before Yahuwah Elohim, or to make and worship graven images. But, you worship Yeshua, Jesus, Ahmed, Muhammad, and bow down to the cross and the black stone, Kaaba, the Star of David, Magen David, and the Ankh. Deuteronomy 5:12-14 tells you to observe the seventh day as the Sabbath. But, you want to observe the day of the sun, or sun. You have been taking evil, Ra disagreeable, for good, Tob agreeable, sin for righteousness, and Nakash as your friend. Well, the time has come for the truth to clear up all confusion. You can no longer be victims of tricknology, you need this right knowledge. You must know and understand truth. For you that are worshipping gods, read on. Know that Nakash, the whisperer, is limited to what he can do. As a whole he cannot take away the facts, he comes today in all races and colors. But, he can and does present truth with his lie, he will say herein lies the truth, enticing you to choose his lie. He must make evil fair seeming, or he will change it to look like it's his. This is tricknology. But, understand that for him to have a chance, he must be successful with Kingu, Leviathan, the spell of sleep, meaning, the spell of spiritual ignorance and racial separation. He must make blacks think they are better, and whites think they are better, so they hate. That's his job too, teach hate each other, and Orientals or Native Americans that's his job to teach you all hate. You are an intelligent people and far too advanced for Nakash, the whisperer, to go head up with you. His plan must be thorough, complete and complex. And it is. But if you read the Family Guide it will help you. What you, as gods, Elohim, or children of El, Psalm 82:6, ye are gods, Elohim, you are children of the Most High El, must realize is that Nakash has hatred in his very heart towards you, both you Nubians and Caucasians. And he hates Orientals and Native Americans. Nakash does not discriminate. In that hatred, he mocks you as servants of Elion El, Anu, the Heavenly One. You have become so ignorant and backward that you take the mockery, and love it. I'm a black this and a white that, what fools. It's a planet problem, not a race problem anymore. You accept and label yourselves with whatever he calls you while he sits back and laughs as you kill each other. He calls you evil without light, you accept it. He caused you to fall from your original state and tells you that you are animals and you accept it. Remember he is in your genes, right in your seed, Genesis chapter 6. He mixed with human beings. So many walk amongst you. That's why in Genesis 3:22 it states like us knowing good and evil, and then Genesis 6:5 the evil took over, Genesis 8:27. And now you are helping him. He calls you ignorant fools and you accept it. This is what you must conquer within yourselves. Don't listen to any teacher who doesn't know the language of the scriptures that he is trying to teach you from. You are confused because of black devils calling everyone else devils. About 2,000 years ago he called you Christians. Today, you are the biggest followers of this Christian joke, along with Judaism who call yourself Israelites or Yisrael or Hebrews, and Islam by whatever sect. Nakash and his helpers are doing their job, treating you like Job. You see, when you say I need a job, there is a whole book in your Bible about a man named Job, read what he will do to you. And doing it well. It could be your best friend or your mate. Your son or daughter, father or mother. Haven't you ever wondered where the names of the weak come from according to the scriptures? They were only numbered, not named. They came from polytheists honoring their gods, as they called them. Let us take a look at these names given to each of these days of the week. The first day of the week was named by those that worship the sun. 1. Sunday, from sun and dag. In Old English it means the day of the sun, in honor of the sun god Baal. This TS where the name Sananda comes from. 2. Monday, from Monandag, Old English for, the day of the moon. Muna means moon, like the Latin luna, which goes back even further to the ancient cuneiform, and is the name of a ruler of the moon when it once had life. 3. Tuesday, in Old English, the day was named in honor of the god of war, Tiu, originally Tiwest Egg. 4. Wednesday, named after the Scandinavian god, Woden Wooden Stag. 5. Thursday, named after the god of lightning and thunder, Thor, originally called Thurjag. 6. Friday, named after the goddess of Frigg, believed to have the power to bring warriors back to life, called Frigid Egg. 7. Saturday, from the Roman god Saturn, for which the planet was also named, called Cedar Dag, and Saturn was the original name of Rome. And the Hebrew calendar gets all its names from Babylonian gods. The Canaanite deities, that's right, the Hebrews had the very god Tammuz in their religious calendar. 1. Nisan, 2. Iyar, 3. Sivan, 4. Tammuz, 5. Av, 6. Elul, 7. Tishri, 8. Heshvan, 9. Kislev, 10. Teves, 11. Shavat, 12. Adar. The 6th month of the Jewish religious calendar, known as Elul, means worthless gods. This same word is found in Jeremiah 14:14 as the word of not worthless, of false gods in the Aramaic, Hebrew. Then it is found again in Leviticus 17:9 as the word Elil as idols. Both these words Elil and Elul come from the root word al, pronounced el, not as el, meaning no, neither, not. They are also confused. You Hebrews or Israelites also took a day and called it the Sabbath, Shabbath. If you really look in the scriptures, Exodus 20:10, you will see that was the Elohim's, Anunnaki day of desisting, not yours. The Anunnaki were desisting or resting from the 600 years of making and cloning you, creating you from a clot, Quran 91, preparing the planet for you. They went home, which will take 7,200 years, 3,600 and 3,600 returning after that, Quran 4:11, it says when Allah finished here then he went to the heavens. Quran 2:29, notice the days of the week. They never named them, but only numbered them, Genesis 1 and 2. Which of these is the Sabbath, Shabbath, now, day of desisting, that the Elohim have chosen? You know it is the 7th day. You call it Saturday, but, why is it that you honor the first day, or the day of the sun, or sun? Christians call it the day of your Lord, which is Baal. You, also call it the day of the sun, or is it sun, meaning, Yeshua, Jesus. All of you that are honoring the first day as the day of your Lord, are actually honoring the sun as your Lord. Miriam was called land of the burnt faces by the Greeks. If you look at the last chapters of Genesis and the first chapters of Exodus, you see that Israel, dwelt in what you call Egypt for 430 years, Exodus 22:40-41. The last 100, or so, years of the children of Israel, in Miriam, Egypt, were the years of their oppression, which is what you are going through today. Also, note that the chief deity worshipped in Miriam was Ra, the seeing, as in the 21st chapter of Genesis, who Hagar, the Egyptian wife of Abraham, met as El Roi, which is Ra, symbol of the all-seeing eye, as you see over the pyramid on your dollar bill, also called the sun deity, which comes from Sumer as Anu in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The fact that Hagar didn't call on the deity El or Al of the Canaanites, proves that even she didn't convert to Abraham's religion but called on the deity of Miriam, Egypt. Overstand that, during the time, Miriam was the richest nation on earth. Ra was their chief deity, but not the only deity that they worshipped. However, today, America is the most powerful nation on the face of the earth. And, as prophesied in Revelation 17:1-8 and 18-7, the new Babylon, known as America, would be a very rich nation, as the kings of the earth commit adultery with her. What country on the face of the earth has more of a following than the United States, called Babylon? Here, in America, one of the major religions is Christianity. They profess the worship of the Trinity, or the three into one concept, the Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost. They claim their chief deity to be the Father, but when you look closely, you see that the worship of the Son, far outweighs the worship of the Father and the Holy Ghost put together. The next time you go to church, or talk with a Christian, notice how much more he will glorify the Son, over the Father and the Holy Ghost, whom you allow to possess you. Thus, you find that your chief deity is actually the Son, whom you call Jesus, or Jesus. You call your Sabbath, the day of the Lord, but you also call it the day of the sun. Are you confused? 1 Corinthians 14:33. Sunday or Saturday or Friday is a trick. The Israelites, also don't know who to worship: Yahweh, Adonai, El Shaddai, El Elyon, El Elo. They are as confused as Christians and Muslims. Again, Nakash, the whisperer, has been successful in his use of tricknology against you. He has given you the truth and a lie, and enticed you to choose the lie. He works you 5 days a week and gives you the weekend off from work, the 7th and the first day. Which do you choose as your Sabbath? The day of the sun, your Lord, Baal, the first day. Stop allowing Nakash to make fools of you. Religion is a man-made philosophy of divine or superhuman powers to be obeyed and worshipped. Adamites were procreated to be successors, Khulafa, Quran 10:14, over the others that were cloned, grafted over a 600-year period to become minors to work for the Elohim and time inherit the Eretz, planet Earth. They were so evil, Genesis 6:5. The Elohim saw Adam as the making of the devil. It took 400 years for the breeding of 4 generations, as in all cloning and genetic splicing or grafting. That's 10 people per 100 years and comes out to 40 people over a period of 400 years. 100 years before the 400 for the preparation, that is the collecting of the choice species for breeding, or what is called abducting, and the building of the laboratories, Earth Base 1 called Tiahuanaco, South America. This place also has the faces in stone of the 7 types of human faces possible, so actually there are only 7 different faces and everyone has a combination of these 7 original characteristics. That was the 7 different Anunnaki mixed with Homo erectus, and why you have the face on Mars. Actually you can have one combination out of 7 faces. The last 100 years was for the civilizing and educating. After the Anunnaki, Elohim, were finished Genesis 2:1 with what they wanted from it, you were given the will to choose, adapt and invent, which made you the Adamites superior to all else on Eretz, Earth, Genesis 1:26, but inferior to those in heaven. There are many different religions throughout the world, but, in this scroll you will concentrate on the 3 powerhouses of the Western world, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They are small compared to Hinduism or Buddhism. You live in the West and think they are great. You are wrong. Only 1/3 of the Eretz, planet Earth, are Christians by whatever denomination, Jews, or Muslims, by whatever sect altogether. They are small in number on the planet Earth. First, the Judaism of the Jews. These Jews claim to be the chosen people of Yahweh. They also claim to be the recipients of the covenants. The Jew is actually the descendants of Jebus, the cursed seed of Canaan. This is their true identity. Genesis 10:15-17. The Canaanites, were vile, perverse people, Leviticus 18:24, 20-23. The Jebusite, the descendants of Jebus, and his brethren did dwell in Israel, for a time before they were kicked out. All of the tribes of Canaan, were dislodged except the Jebusite, Joshua 15:63. The Jebusite, refused to be dislodged and clung tightly to the tribe of Yehuda, Judah. These Jebusites claim to be the descendants of Abraham, through Yitzchak, Isaac. Yet they are of the cursed seed of Canaan, and his wife Salah. All the Israelites or Hebrews got their religions from these Canaanites. Even the black Jews or Israelite Hebrews, Nubians followed white scales translations, or their Hebrew versions of their books patterned themselves after Canaanites, then calling them the devil. The 11 tribes of Canaan: 1. Sidon, fortified, wife Gina. 2. Heth, Caith the terrible, wife Sibel. 3. Jebus, Uz, desolate, wife Shaluma, peaceful. 4. Amorite, Mori, mountain dwellers, wife Dinah, in debt. 5. Girgashi, roughness, wife Kamar, moonlight. 6. Hivite, Quiui, tent dwellers, wife Zainab, fornicator. 7. Arki, sweaters, wife Amma, my nation. 8. Arvadite, Arvavd, desires, wife Sadah, Tsa, wronged. 9. Sinite, Chini, yearly wife Zillah, showdown. 10. Zemarite, Sem-Ari, council wife, Sakina, hot wind. 11. Hamathite, Kam-Oth, blackness, wife, Bada, whiteness. But, these Jebusites today are converts who came from Europe. Many think they're from Germany, but they're not. They are from Russia, called the Ashkenazim. This is just one group. The other is called the Sephardim, but are less in number than the Ashkenaz. I have said for years the Jews of today are not those from Abraham's time. This is just another one of the Jews' famous lies. Genetically they are more related to the Hun, Uyghur, and other Magyar, and not from the tribe of not the seed of Abraham. They aren't the chosen of God as they would and have had you believe for years. A Christian group out of Arizona made it their business to publish and pass around a newspaper giving historical proof that the Jews of today are not the Israelites of the Bible. A well-known Jewish author named Arthur Kessler says the Eastern European Jews are not Semites but are Khazars, Mongols and Huns. And these are descendants of the cursed seed of Canaan, the albino. Not the descendants of Abraham, who was a Syrian of Chaldea. Genesis 15:7, yet, all the Nubians Israelites, such as the sect headed by Ben Ami Carter, who are reading someone else's translation, or the Hebrew that is distributed in Israel today because they live right inside Israel and speak modern Hebrew, or the Hebrew Israelites like Yahweh ben Yahweh's followers, who are following the King James translation that just added their own pictures and some minor alterations, which is someone else's translations of the Bible, or there are new groups that copy our translation and then distort it for their own gain. All are following a Torah written or translated by the Ashkenazim of European sect or the Sephardim European the Orientalist Jews. Second, we'll deal with the Christian. The confused of the confused. No Christian, or anyone else, can show you, in the scriptures, where you are commanded to be Christians. No Christian can show you where you are told to bow to the graven image of a man on a cross or of any saints. But, all of these things they do claim. Christianity is claimed to mean, Christ-like or followers of Christ. Jesus of 2,000 years ago never referred to himself as Christ, nor did he call his disciples Christians. The word Christ is the English corruption of the Greek word Christos, which comes from the Latin Christus. Christos from the Hindu deity Krishna and is the Greek interpretation of the Aramaic, Hebrew, word Mashiach, which takes its origin from the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word Masi meaning anointed. Masi is derived from the root word Masa, which means, he wiped clean, he healed and anointed. But, let's go further. You claim, Christ is referred to as Yeshua, Jesus. If this is true, let us look at this title more closely. When you look at the word Christian, and read, from right to left, you will read, Antichrist. The message is there. The truth is before you. I have been teaching you this since 1970 AD. Yeshua, Jesus, upheld the laws of Moshe, Moses. He taught that you should uphold the laws until the end of time and all things pass. Matthew 5:17-20. Don't think that I have come to destroy the laws of the Torah, or what the prophets said. I did not came to destroy, I came to fulfill them. For surely I Yeshua say this to you, not until the Orion skies and the planet Earth are gone, will one yod, the smallest letter of the Hebrew alphabet, or one point, a grammatical accent in Hebrew, in no way perish from the Torah until all has become complete. Whomever of you breaks the smallest commandment, and will teach others to do so, he will be called the smallest in the kingdom of the Orion skies, but whoever will teach them the same will be called the biggest kingdom of the Orion skies. For I say to you that except your righteousness will exceed the righteousness of the Gramist and the Pharisees, you will in no case enter into the kingdom of Orion skies. Right translation in Greek by Dr. Malachi Z. York. As you can see, Yeshua, Jesus, who many of you worship, told you to follow all of the laws, not what you so choose. He, also, said that those who sought righteousness must be more righteous than those calling themselves Pharisees and teachers of the law. In this day and time, that would be the preacher, imams, ministers and scholars. Yeshua, Jesus, told you also, that it was impossible for you to serve two masters, only serve Theos in the Greek who he called Eli, one of the Elohim, Matthew 6:24. He warned you of people coming in his name, in Matthew 7:21-23 and continuously performed his duties in the name of Theos. It is claimed that he was sent unto the world and loved the world. But, when you look at Matthew 15:21-28, you see that he shunned a Canaanite, woman, calling her a dog, saying that he was only sent unto the lost sheep of Israel. In John 17:9, you will find that Yeshua, Jesus, said that he did not pray for the world, but only those unto whom he was sent. Overstand that the books of the New Testament are Gospels according to. According to means, in the opinion of. Therefore, these books are opinions of men, called in Islam Hadith, books of tales written by men. That is why there are many contradictions in the New Testament, as in Paul performing things in the name of Yeshua, Jesus, rather than Theos. Also, when Paul says that you no longer have to follow the laws of Moshe, Moses. Again, when Paul says that circumcision is no longer necessary, Galatians 6:15, Paul seems to supersede Yeshua Jesus, in the Christian doctrine even though it is Yeshua, or Jesus that many Christians profess to worship. In Romans 3:78, Paul admits that he is a liar. In Romans 7:14-25, again, Paul admits this time, that he was possessed. These are not our words, but his own. Don't believe me, check it out. Note that the road is straight and narrow, Matthew 7:14. Nakash is tricky. In Hadith, tales, he tells you all the lies that he so chooses. He will bombard you with lies and throw in a little truth to confuse you. This is his job. One of the last commandments, before the Hadith of the New Testament is in Malachi 4:4. It tells you not to be partial keepers of the law, Malachi 2:8-9. You must be fully obedient to the laws. You cannot pick and choose as you please. Furthermore, if you go to Deuteronomy 5:7-9, Ezra 10:2-3, Habakkuk 3:6 and Isaiah 4:1, you find that you don't follow, not one of these laws. That makes you hypocrites, because you claim to follow the laws, but follow your own traditions. Let's go further. 1 Corinthians 11:5-10, 12-16 and 1 Timothy 2:9-15. Yeshua, Jesus, the man you supposedly follow, spoke the Aramaic, Hebrew, language when he dwelt on earth. If he is your teacher, why do you not follow him? Why do you not speak, read and write the original Aramaic, Hebrew, language? You claim that you were all born in sin, but the Elohim tells you in Ecclesiastes 7:29, that he made you righteous, but you seek many traditions you have claimed, John 7:42, to follow the Christ that was crucified almost 2,000 years ago. Well, whoever your Christ is, he is not the real Messiah, sent unto the lost sheep of Israel almost 2,000 years ago of the seed, sperm, of David, David. He was never crucified. There was a crucified Jesus named Simon Bar Jesus Acts 13:6, the son of Yeshua, Jesus, and Mary of Magdalene. As a matter of fact, your Hadith even shows you that Yeshua, Jesus, son of Mary was not crucified. Let us take a close look at this subject. The first time that the plot of Yeshua's, Jesus, death was spoken of, came from the mouth of a man named Caiaphas, who was a high priest. This can be found in John 11:49-53. Nowhere, before this time was Yeshua's, Jesus, death spoken of by anyone. As you can see in verse 54, Yeshua, Jesus, attempted to hand him over to the Romans, but he was unsuccessful. Remember Nakash, the whisperer, gives you the truth along with a lie. In Matthew 27:3-8, Judas is so grieved, that he hangs himself. But, in Acts 1:18, he bought a field then threw himself over a cliff. Now, what really happened to Judas? In truth, Yeshua, Jesus, son of Mary was not crucified, but, Judas was taken in his place. Judas was made to look like Yeshua, Jesus, and then crucified. This can be found in Quran 4:157-159 and 355. Now, let's take a look at what you call the New Testament. In the Gospels according to Matthew 26:38-42, Mark 14:33-39, Luke 22:39-45 and John sent 7:1-3, Yeshua, Jesus, prays not to be crucified. Now, something interesting happens in John 18:48. Here, the soldiers have came to arrest Yeshua, Jesus, but see a light about him and bow to him. They said that they had come to take him, but twice, not once, fell to the ground before him. The Gospel of Barnabas, verse 217, one of Yeshua's, Jesus, disciples, says that Judas was miraculously transformed to the appearance of Yeshua, Jesus. How would the soldiers have known, if their faces were to the ground? And how would the disciples know if they forsook him? Matthew 26:56. Let's go further. On the cross, Yeshua, Jesus, is said to have questioned the will of Theos in Matthew 27:46 and Mark 15:34. Wouldn't this be considered a sin to question Theos whom you call God or Yahweh? In Mark 9:31, Yeshua, Jesus, says, and I quote, Mark 9:31, for he was teaching his disciples and said to them, the son of a mortal being is delivered into the hands of mortal beings and they will kill him and after he is killed he will rise the third day. Right translation in Greek by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Why is Yeshua, Jesus, speaking to himself in the third person as him and not me? He is not speaking of himself, but of another. Who is the him? Normally, Yeshua, Jesus, speaks of himself in the first person, as I, Matthew 10:33. Could this be Judas he was referring to? After Yeshua, Jesus, allegedly died on the cross, the body was immediately taken down and wrapped in linen, Luke 23:53. Now in Luke 24:5, when people were looking for Yeshua's, Jesus, body, they were asked, by two men in shining garments, why do you look for the living among the dead? According to Christian doctrine, once you die you rise in spiritual form. So, why was Yeshua's, Jesus, body missing? Why would these men say, why do you look for the living among the dead? Let's go further. In Luke 24:36-42, Yeshua, Jesus, appeared to the disciples. As a matter of fact, he even said that he was alive in the flesh and allowed them to touch him in Luke 24:39. In verses 42 and 43 of the same chapter, he eats fish. Spirits do not eat. He was alive. In John 20:14-16, Yeshua, Jesus, is disguised as a gardener. He could not let it be known that the wrong man was killed. They would try again. Yeshua, Jesus, was not crucified. He lived to be 120 years old, as prophesied in Genesis 6:3. Here, Yahuwah tells you, Genesis 6:3, and then Yahuwah declared, my soul the seed of the Elohim bred and the Adamites from Ninki, The divine will not judge in their genes for eternity, because it has been mixed with human skin. He is also or mortal, Homo erectus to Homo sapien, and must die in time. In fact, all the days of his physical lifespan will be only 120 years. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Yeshua, Jesus, is the only one sent from Yahuwah or Eli, called my spirit in Quran 21:91, to dwell among men. Do you claim that he is wrong, or is lying? Let's, quickly, summarize this crucifixion. First, Yahuwah tells you, in Genesis 6:3, that Yeshua, Jesus, would live for 120 years. Then you have men telling you the story Yeshua, Jesus, in their opinion. In Hosea 6:6, you see that the Elohim does not desire sacrifice, but mercy. If you go to Genesis 22:1-18, you see that Abraham was also tested with sacrifice. He was to sacrifice his son and was willing. Thus, this was a test of Abraham's faith and obedience to the Elohim, Genesis 22:12. Abraham passed, and a ram was put in the place of his son Yitzchak, Isaac. So, you see, 2,000 years ago, the ram, Judas, was put in the place of the Son of Man. Then, you see that in Luke 22:42-44, that Yeshua, Jesus, prayed for this cup to be passed by him. In Hebrew 5:7, you see an admission that his prayer was answered. Then, let's go further. In 2 Timothy 2:8, you see that the teaching of the crucifixion and the resurrection are the teachings of Paul. Now, in Deuteronomy 13:1-5, if there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, which he spoke the words to you, saying, let us go forth, after other Elohim which you have not known, and let us be their slave. You will not listen to the words of that prophet, or that dreamer of dreams, for Yahuwah your Elohim lift you up, to know whether you love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your spirit. You will walk after Yahuwah your Elohim and fear him and keep his commandments and listen to the speech of his voice, and you will be a slave to him, and cleave to him. And that the newsbearer of the things to come, or that dreamer of dreams, because he has spoken to turn you away from Yahuwah your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the part of the planet earth of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of slavery, to drive you out of the way you walk in, so will you put the disagreeableness away from the middle of you. Right translation in Greek by Dr. Malachi Z. York. As you have already read, the crucifixion and the resurrection, as well as the teachings of the worship of Yeshua, Jesus, are those of Paul. If you heed to the command of Yahuwah, then Paul should have been put to death, along with anyone who follows him. Even in your own doctrine, Yeshua, Jesus, said, in Matthew 7:21, not everyone calling on him, claiming to do things in his name, will enter Aranos, heaven, but he would claim not to know you. One last thing, in Matthew 12:40, Yeshua, Jesus, compares his situation to that of Jonah's, saying, Matthew 12:40, for just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so will the Son of a Mortal be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Right translation in Greek by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Jonah, was alive while in the belly of the huge fish. Making the point that just as Jonah was assumed dead but was alive, so Yeshua, Jesus, was alive, while in hiding, in the heart of the earth. Now, as for the Muslims, Islam is filled with many traditions, blasphemous and paganistic practices. You call yourselves ones of peace, but continuously and unrighteously declare war, as in Iraq and Iran. You hold a stone sacred called the Kaaba, just as the Israelites do a stone wall today called the Wailing Wall. When Leviticus 26:1 says, and I quote, you are not to fashion for yourself idols or statue figures, nor are you to raise up yourself to stand before images, nor are you to set up any kind of figure of stone in your part of the planet earth, so as to prostrate to it, for I am Yahuwah of your Elohim. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. And Micah 5:13 says, your engraved images also will I cut off, and your standing images out of the middle of you, and you will no more worship the work of your own hands. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Another point, why is it that you go forth to announce your prayers by calling the Adhan? For one, the word Azan is found only once in Quran 9-3. The word Azan is used by the Muslims as the call to prayer cannot be found in the Quran as El Adhan. You will find it in the 9th chapter 3rd verse, but Allah and Muhammad are making an announcement, as they translate it. The word Azan is a derivative of the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word Aznun, which means ear, the object by which to listen. The Quran uses the word Nudia, which means he called or summoned, Quran 62-9. In Quran 7:55 they use the word Adu, which stems from the word Da'a. Quran 7:55, humbly call out to your master, the source, El Elo, in secret, surely he, the source, Allah does not like those who violated the sanctity of supplication, by raising their voices impertinently, or rudely. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Where is it that you get you should pray 5 times a day? The Quran mentions only 3 by name. 1. Salat al-Fajr, Quran 2-187. 2. Salat al-Wusta, Quran 2-238. 3. Salat al-Isha, Quran 30:18. There are 7 types of prayer. 1. Fardu Ain, which is prime, individual duty, should not be missed on any account. 2. Fardu Kifayat, obligatory is a generous contribution. For instance, in a funeral procession a person offers funeral prayer. 3. Wajib, obligatory, when a person who doesn't offer a sacrifice on Eid al-Adha, feast of the sacrifice, requiring 2 raka'ats, bowings in the performance of worship. 4. Al-Sunnat al-Mu'akkadat, not obligatory, is for one who takes refuge that the Muhammad used daily. 5. Al-Sunnatu Gairu al-Mu'akkadat, not obligatory and is a category for all prayers that do not fall under the previous category. 6. Salatu al-Nafil, an optional salat that can be performed any time consisting of 2 raka'ats. 7. Salatu al-Witr, which means odd, and this prayer has an odd number of raka'ats. These are the 7 times you can pray during the day. 1. Sajadu al-Maghrib, which is when the day starts, as it says in Genesis 1:5, and I quote in part, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Quran 2-117. 2. Salatu al-Asa, obligatory, the night prayer, Quran 24:58. 3. Salatu al-Tahajjud, the midnight prayer, Quran 17:19. 4. Salatu al-Fajr, obligatory, worship at daybreak, Quran 2-187. 5. Salatu al-Ishraq, is performed when the day is well started but not at its peaks, Quran 38:18. 6. Salatu al-Duha, this is late morning prayer before the zenith around 11 am. 7. Salatu al-Zubr, obligatory, this prayer is performed during the early afternoon, Quran 278. 8. Salatu al-Asr, this is late afternoon worship, Quran 2-238. You claim that the Quran was revealed pure, in unadulterated classical Arabic. Yet, you admit that dots, as well as vowels were added after Muhammad's death, which means you have changed the language of the Quran. The Quran was revealed to Muhammad in the Quraysh dialect. Muhammad received the first chapter of the Quran at the age of 40, that would have been in the year 610 AD. Being he was born in 570 AD, so, tell me, how pure is the Quran today? The copy of the Quran that so many of you today hold is not even a copy from the original Quran. The copy of the Quran that you Muslims have today is copied from what those true followers of Muhammad were able to remember and put together. Quran 5:19, family of the scriptures, certainly the one we sent, Muhammad, came to you making clear for you all, bringing a new book, the Quran, lest you say, there has not come to you a bearer of good news, nor a warner, so certainly, there has come to you all a giver of good news, and a warner, and the source, El Elo, has the power over all things. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Furthermore, you boldly claim that the covenant was taken from Israel, and given to you as descendants of Ishmael, along with the Quran. You claim that Allah sent his Quran to only you, but he says that he sent it unto Israel, Quran 683-90, also and all who would listen, Quran 46:30-32. Can you dispute with Allah? No, you cannot. Muhammad was chosen by Allah. Who were you chosen by? Muhammad was a Hebrew and an Islamic Hebrew. The Quran was given to Israel by virtue of the fact that all the people such as Abraham, Yitzchak, Isaac, Ishmael, and Moses, mentioned are from the Torah. So it is for Israel, also. In Quran 2-130 it tells you to follow Abraham, that he is the Imam of nations, and those who do not follow his millah or way of life are fools. So who was the Quran sent to? Another point, Muhammad's descendancy was traced back to Ishmael, whose descendancy is traced to Abraham, Genesis 16:15, and his Egyptian wife Hagar, Genesis 16:3, who were what? Israelites? No. Assyrian or Chaldean, because Bethuel, the son of Nahor, Genesis 24:7, and Nahor, was also the father of Terah, Genesis 11:24, the father or Abram, Genesis 11:27. So Bethuel, was Assyrian as found in Genesis 25:20. That would mean that Abraham was Assyrian, and the word found for Assyrian in the Hebrew text is Arami, meaning a thing or person from Syria, Aram, and Aramith means the Aramaic language and is the feminine form of Arami. Then the language of Abraham the Chaldean, Genesis 11:28, was Syriac as well as Aramaic, and Chaldeans also spoke Syriac, Daniel 2:4. And when you see Abram the Hebrew in Genesis 14:3, make note that they're not using his Hebrew name Abraham, which is first used in Genesis 17:5 when it changed from Abram to Abraham. They were calling him a Hebrew when he was still living under the Chaldean name. In your claim that the covenant was passed on to you, you cite Genesis 49:10 and Hebrew 8-7, 10, 13. Well, let's say the right of the firstborn does go to Ishmael, Deuteronomy 21:15-17, to him goes a double share of inheritance from his father's wealth. But, the promise from the Elohim would be through Yitzchak, Isaac, as stated in Genesis 1:11-13. And this covenant would be everlasting, Genesis 17:7, if they hadn't turned their backs on him for a god Baal. And I quote, "And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim." Genesis 49:10, "The staff of authority will not part from Judah, nor the right to make laws depart from between his feet until Shiloh comes, and to him will be the gathering of the nation of people." Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. We claim and teach by facts that Muhammad was indeed the Comforter and the Shiloh of Genesis 49:10 prophesied to come by many Israelites and Hebrews. Without an in-depth knowledge of the Hebrew language and scriptures you'll get confused. Let us not fail to reveal the facts to you. First we get the name of a person Salah, which in Aramaic, Hebrew, Shelik, which means sprout. This can be found in Genesis 10:24, and the Greeks repeated the same name in Luke 3:35 as Salah father Haber, and then in 1 Chronicles 1:18 we have the spelling Shelah, also in verse 24 the same spelling as a son of Arphaxad father of Haber. So this is definitely not the Shiloh. Next you have Shiloach, also spelled Silo and means shoot of growth, sent forth, and is referring to a fountain of Jerusalem, also Nehemiah 3:15 backs that up. Then we have the word Shiloh, which is a town in Ephraim found in Joshua 18:1-10 and Judges 21:19. That is definitely not the Shiloh, and if looked up on the page 177 of a book called All the People and Places of the Bible by 3 separate scholars of the language, holding PhDs, copyright dated 1982. You'll find under that word the meaning of peace, which the book of Isaiah 26:3 spells out peace as shalom, and is also used in Job 22:2 to be at peace. Then again in 1 Kings 7:51 was ended. As you can see, the same word is being used to complete or finish, to end as in to complete a building. Then again you find the word in Psalm 32:5 Selah, and it is used at the end of Psalms and means to get ready for prayer in Aramaic, Hebrew, and the same in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, as the word Salat. In the quote Genesis 11:28 it speaks of Haran the brother of Abraham dying before their father Terah, in the land of his nativity being Ur of the Chaldees, which is the land of Syria, making Abraham Assyrian by birth. Genesis 12:4, the quote Genesis 22:22 where they refer to Bethuel, son of Nahor, Abraham's brother, Terah, son, as Assyrian, and the word in the Hebrew language is translated as Aramaic Genesis 10:11. Then in Genesis 11:31 Terah takes his family Abram, Sarai and Lot, son of Haran, and moved them again from Ur of the Chaldees to the land of Canaan, to live. Even Yahweh says in Genesis 15:7 that he took him out of Ur of Chaldees to the land of Canaan. We also get the same through the family line of Noah, and we see the name Ashur meaning level plain. These are the Assyrian people, sons of Shem. They were Nubians, and the word Syria today comes from it. So you see that Aramaic and Ashuric, or what's called today Hebrew and Arabic, are dialects of the same language. That one language spoken in Babel is found in Genesis 10:5. This is the exact same chapter where we find in verse 11 Ashur, or Syria, and in verse 23 Aram, or Hebrew, and in verse 24 the word Eber, where the word Hebrew comes from, and that one language and tongue was cuneiform. Cuneiform, the father of all languages, is confirmed in Genesis 10:10, where you see the words Babel and Erech and Akkad and Kalna, all of which are in the land of Shinar. These are not Hebrew words. They are cuneiform, from which all of them came. Just look at the name Kalna, fortress of Anu, a Babylonian city. Many will try to say Hebrew comes from Phoenician, a word you cannot find in the Bible or the Torah. It is a New Testament book of Acts 22:2 concept and refers to a mountain region between the Mediterranean Sea on the west and the mountains of Lebanon on its east. So, there is no truth to that. So the Salat mentioned in the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, of the Quran 2-3, is the same as the Selah mentioned in the Psalm 32:5. Also, when one says that Shiloh can't mean peace or can't be referring to Muhammad, let me make it clear that the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word salam and the Aramaic, Hebrew, word shalom both apply to righteous people. Quran 2-128 uses the word muslimina for a tranquil or peaceful person, Then it uses in Quran 2:27 Musli Huona. Both places are referring to the righteous people and both are titles of Muhammad. So Elam is Shiloh as well as Shalom and Muhammad is the Shiloh. Thus the scepter of Judah did pass by way of Bilal, an Ethiopian Hebrew of the tribe of Judah, into the hands of Muhammad, from Muhammad to the Sudan into the hands of El-Mahdi the guide. If you were able to look into the meaning of this word you get Hutta, which is the same root of Yehuda, Judah. So, a remnant of the house of Judah, called the Hadan-Dawa tribe or the Fuzzy Wuzzies. You hear the phonetics Hadan equals Hada, guide Dawa call, summon, meaning the call of the guided. Of Nubia, who also in Ethiopia are called the Falasha, are keepers of the Ark of the Covenant, Genesis 25:10, to this day. So the everlasting covenant to this day was complete in the coming of El-Mahdi the Lion of Judah, who yielded the reformer the forerunner of the real Messiah. Some people are under the misconception that Haile Selassie was the Lion of Judah, however you are wrong. In order to be the Lion of Judah you would at least have to be from that same bloodline. The Islam practice today is not it. It is Wahhabi sectism. It is what is practiced by the Ansarullah under the Holy Tabernacle. The prophecy fulfilled. Abraham is the father and founder of the religion of Islam. But Melchizedek was king of Salem, Islam. As mentioned earlier, he taught Abram and he was Murdoch, meaning ruler of the deities, the Anunnaki from Sumer. Abraham is not the founder of all Islam, his religion Millatu Abraham and Dinul Islam, the religion of Islam, but he called them Muslims first, Quran 2:132, and gave birth to these three denominations. 1. Judaism, by way of Yehuda, Judah, son of Jacob, Jacob, and Leah, who was a descendant of Yitzchak, Isaac, son of Abraham and Sarah. 2. Islam, by way of Ahmed, Muhammad, son of Abdullah and Amina, who was a descendant of Ishmael, son of Abraham and Hagar. 3. Christianity, by way of Yeshua, Jesus, son of Gabriel, and Miriam, Mary, descended from Jacob, son of Yitzchak, Isaac. So real Jews, Christians and Muslims are those who follow Abraham's religion. In Quran, Surah 990, 97-99, 101, 102, you will find that Allah has told you that you should not follow the desert and Bedouin Arabs, for they are the worst concealers of truth and unbelief and the biggest of hypocrites. The problem is, these are only two types of Arabs. Explain to your followers why you had slaves before the Christians did and sold them to your evil brothers. You cannot. Many of you are blindly following these hypocrites, believing that Allah really chose these people and sent them scriptures. Do not allow yourselves to be tricked. The only difference between them is that some live in the desert and some live in the cities. There is another group of Muslims that we must address. The Nation of Islam, who taught that Allah came in the person of a man named Master W.D. Farr or Wallace Douglas. However, 2 years after the true leader Master Farad Muhammad or W.D. Farad, Abdul Wali Farad Muhammad Ali, had been replaced, is when Elijah Poole met Wallace Dodd Ford. This master stayed for 3.5 years. They are confused of which one they speak of. These are the men whom they call Allah and they believe them to be one. They are expecting his return. But which one are you expecting to return? You tell Christians to stop worshipping their Yeshua, Jesus. Yet, you do tell you. Wallace D. Farr Muhammad is actually Wallace Dodd Ford, one of Adolf Hitler's Venusians, just like a man came to Earth July 10, 1856 AD, named Nikola Tesla. Then on January 7, 1943 AD, he worked with the Philadelphia experiment. Just like a man known as Val Thor whose original name was Valiant, who came from the planet Venus on March 16, 1957 AD, and stayed on Earth in the Pentagon for 3.5 years, as Master Farad had some 20 years earlier, giving certain information that would help humans, but the reply was the people of Earth are not ready to cope with such conditions that would come into existence. He was allowed to help some scientists dealing with medical projects associated with space science. On March 16, 1960 AD, he had superpower. He was able to read minds, know of events that happened without being present, clairvoyance, he could communicate without verbal speech, telepathy, he could become invisible, he had supreme knowledge of the universe and he had no fingerprints. In your teachings, you say that the Caucasian was genetically grafted by a man named Yaqub, Message to a Black Man page 9. The name Jacob, can be found in Genesis 28:1 and the only grafting that Jacob, did was to his livestock by mating the spotted with the unspotted. The spotted were to belong to him and the rest to his father-in-law, Laban, which means white, Genesis 30:21-43. Therefore, where is this grafting that you speak of coming from? Then, you who call yourselves the 5%ers, agree with the nation of Elam except for your concept of God because you say you are gods. This is true according to Psalm 82:6, but why would God or a supreme being breed a disagreeable nature? You the 5%ers speak about the graftation of the devil done by this scientist named Yaqub using magnets, who was born 20 miles outside of Mecca. First of all, in Saudi Arabia, where this Yaqub was born 8,400 years ago, there are no natural magnets. Knowing this, where did he get the generator to charge the magnets he used? If you go 20 miles to the west, you'll end up in the Red Sea. If you go 20 miles in the remaining directions north, south, or east, you'll only get more desert. The only places where natural magnets occur on the earth is at the points that are exactly 30 degrees longitude in such places as Giza, Eridu, Persian Gulf area, and places in South America like Peru and Mecca is located between 35 to 40 degrees longitude. All of this still makes no sense because playing with magnets would not give you any information about genetics. Do not allow yourselves to be confused by these religious fanatics. They are the teachings and traditions of men called Hadith, which are lies bound together in a widely accepted religious doctrine. Open your eyes and see. For the first time in your life, use what the Anunnaki have given you. Let go of man's religion, all kinds. Give him back his Bibles and Qurans. Get right knowledge from the Holy Tabernacle Ministries. Habakkuk 3:6, he stood and measured the planet Earth. He saw and leapt asunder the Gentile nation, and the everlasting mountains were scattered, spread abroad, the perpetual hills did prostrate, his ways are eternal. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Revelation 7:8, as for the beast which you saw, he was and he is not existing now yet is determined, he will ascend from the bottomless pit and he will run toward eternal damnation, and all who dwell upon the planet earth will wonder, those whose names are not written in the scroll of the ever-living from the beginning of the world, when they looked at the beast which is done, and yet here he is, or is he? Right translation in Greek by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Babylon, Iraq today, originally, was an ancient empire, first established by Nimrod son of Cush, Genesis 10:8, and he also ruled the 11 descending tribes of Canaan, Genesis 10:15. Babylon, Genesis 10:10, was later conquered and destroyed by Persia, Iran today, Kings 24:10-11. The word Persia in Aramaic, Hebrew, is parak and means pure or splendid. If you look closely at the word, you will see where the word Farsi, the language spoken in Iran today, came from. The P in the Hebrew would change to B because P did not exist in ancient Semitic languages. This nation of Nubians has died once, and now has risen as Amorites, whom Nimrod the Nubian presented it to. Thus, the astonished world follows this newly arisen empire, Babylon, Revelation 14:8, 16:19, 17-5, 183. No one has more of a following than the United States, and now with the fall of Russia, one worldism or the New World Order is in effect. As I mentioned in Leviathan 666 edition number 15. There is no confusion. America is the new Babylon. Babylon's first founder, Nimrod, was called a Jabberarine in Aramaic, Hebrew, that is Gibbor, Genesis 10:9, which relates him back to the sons of God that came to earth in Genesis chapter 6 verse 4. This Nimrod was the product of the sons of the Elohim, making him a mighty hunter in front of the Lord, Genesis 10:9. This made him a sun worshipper, the savior to the Amorites, called the sun god Shamash. The word is still used by Israelites and Hebrews today for sun. And the symbol of the ancient Babylonians for the sun was taken from the Sumerians. And as you can see, it is a circle with 6-pointed star surrounded by 10 planets, called by the Israelites, the Star of David. This Nimrod united the Canaanites, under his rule. And they still follow him today. He was made to look like a bad man because he said worship Anu and founded the city called Kalna, which means, fortress of Anu, Genesis 10:19. It is for this reason Abraham versed Nimrod, who upon hearing his words threw him in the fire, Quran 2-258. He was later rescued not by his God but by the daughter of Nimrod named Keturah, whom Abraham made a wife, Genesis 25:1, and had 5 sons by, Genesis 25:4. Yet even Keturah, didn't convert to his religious beliefs that he obtained from living amongst the Canaanites, who had their own El and a Leon who was called Hadad, Adad, Shub, Ishkur and Baal, 1 Kings 18:40, Judges 2:11, Quran 37-125, the disagreeable son of Enlil who supported the worship of Ishtar in the Babylonian history. Nor did Keturah's sons the Midianites, Genesis 25:2. And then look at Exodus 18:1. This Jethro, was a Cohen priest, just like Melchizedek of the Elohim. Jethro, already had a faith before he met Moses, and his faith was in the same Elion El, Anu, of Abraham. Abraham fell into worshipping the El or Al short for Elion, Elion, a deity of the Canaanites as we said earlier. This Elion is not to be confused with the real Anu, who is Elion El. This is like when the Nation of Islam declared in 1930 AD, in America that a European man, born in 1887 to 1934 AD, named Wallace Dodd Ford, who they called W.F. Muhammad, is the Allah of the Quran of 1,400 years ago and the Allah who created the whole universe. And they get a new group of people by the thousands in this new Babylon confused into thinking that this is really Allah. The same thing happened in Babylon with the name El. The Canaanites, created their own El which became Elohim, which became an Adonai and a Yahweh and a Shadi and an El Elo. This was their use of their deity using the real names, just as in Genesis 4:16 and Genesis 4:24 where a list of names sounding very similar to the true family line is found in Genesis 5:28. The Canaanite, deity is referred to as Al, not Anu when the Ayan, lame name Al or El is in reference to Anu, in the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, of the Quran of the Muslims 2 to 255, is spelled Al-Ali. The Most High, and in fact, a whole chapter, the 87th chapter of the Quran is entitled The Most High from its first verse and the last two verses that deal directly with what's called the Suhuf of Abraham, which translates as the Book of Abraham, which is referring to the tablets before the 5 books of Moses, which are cuneiform tablets of the Enuma Elish, which uses the name Anu as the Most High and is the 36th of the Muslims' 99 best names of Allah. Later in Genesis, chapter 14:18 an Elohim Anunnaki named Melchizedek, a Kahan priest of Elion El and known as Al-Qadr to the Muslims, who is found in the Quran 1860-82, originally called by the title Murdoch whose name was Amar Utu in those cuneiform tablets, also a disagreeable Elohim Anunnaki who converted to a benevolent being, son of Enki, Nudimud, and Damkina, came to Abraham in the plains of Mamre. This place was named after an Amorite, who allied himself with Abram, Genesis 14:13-24. Melchizedek made Abraham stop worshipping on the ground and from worshipping the false Yahweh and introduced him to the real Elion El, Genesis 14:22. Then in Genesis 15:1 he gets the symbol of the Anunnaki, the 6-pointed star as a symbol of the sun, and it's called in this quote in the Aramaic, Hebrew, Megan meaning a shield, later to become the Star of David, Psalm 3:3, the symbol of the coming of the Babylonian god Tammuz, as a Messiah type, Christ, as logged by the stars, thus the coming of the wise astrologers, Magi, Matthews 2:1-2, Ezekiel 8:14. This is why in Exodus 6:3 it says that Abraham did not know El Shaddai by this name Yahweh, Jehovah. For this El Shaddai was Metatron the disputer, the 11th of the 24 Elohims assigned as guardians, from the 8th planet called Rizq, in the 19th galaxy. These Rizq-tians are over the earth, Revelation 4:4. They control 10,000 angelic beings in human form here on earth to help guide. So during Abraham's time there were many Yahwehs who were Elohim agreeable and disagreeable. So Abraham hated Nimrod for trying to introduce him to Anu, and later Melchizedek brought Abraham back to this same Anu, but by the name Elion El, the same deity of Nimrod. The new Babylon was prophesied of, almost 2,000 years ago. Revelation 18:2-8, speaks of the fall of Babylon. Babylon is also spoken of in Zechariah 5:5-11. The actual empire of Babylon fell to Persia in the year 539 BC. This book of Zechariah was written 19 years later in 520 BC, therefore, the Babylon that was spoken of had to have been a nation of the future. The same nation that was spoken of in Revelation 14:8, which was written in 96 AD, over 6 centuries after the fall of the first Shinar, meaning the plains, flatlands. Babylon was ruled by the Anunnoi. It was Babel meaning doorway to El, or Babylon, which is the doorway to Elion in cuneiform, which was the reason behind the fall of the Tower of Babel. They used the sound of the name and spelled it wrong. So Babel gets its name from cuneiform, and Babylon means door to Elion, Elin, because it doesn't make sense in Aramaic, Hebrew. However, page 28 of the people and places in the Bible under the name Babel they have gate of God, yet right beneath it, they say for Babylon the meaning is unknown, and also they say for Babylonia, the meaning is unknown. Some people think that Shinar is Babylon, but if you look at Genesis 10:10 where they refer to the kingdom of Babel, and Erech and Akkad and Kalna, these 4 kingdoms were in the land of Shinar. Shinar means watches him that sleeps and is the plain known as Chaldea, Isaiah 11:11. So we say the 4 kingdoms of which Babel was one of them and was in the plains of Shinar. Shinar is not Babylon the old or the new. So when the scripture was being changed from Aramaic and Syriac, they didn't have the meaning of this place Babel because it was a cuneiform word, and this word Babel meant door or gate, and the word El was added to it. Tower whose top should reach into the heavens, which simply means a gateway to These people were not Hebrews, they were Babylonians, and Babylonians lived in Babylon, which was a city built by Nimrod on the plans of Shinar. Again, this takes us back to Genesis 10:10, where you find the word Kalna in Strong's Concordance translates as fortress of Anu. And if you go to the tablet of the Enuma Elish, you'll find a verse that has Anu. So it is a Babylonian thing from the Gilgamesh tablets, and it's hidden in the name Kalna. These things your Jewish translators won't make easy to find. You will have to, if you are sincere, do some research. The trick is when you see Babel as a place and then you can look in the English dictionary and it gives you the definition confusion and makes you think that the translation of the word Babel is confusion, when the very word Babel in Webster's unabridged New 20th Century Dictionary on page 134, defined as a Hebrew word Babel, a confusion of voices, and Webster's dictionary gets its meaning from the Bible. Genesis 10:5. Nimrod had the Canaanites building the Tower of Babel as a launching pad for a craft, Sham, that would reach into the heavens, which is now the Orion constellation, known then as Alea in the 19th galaxy, to make a name for themselves. Genesis 11:4. If you read Revelation 13:1-4, it gives you a description of the beast. Now take a look at Revelation 13:16-17. And the beast caused all people, both big and small, rich and poor, free and slaves, to get a stamp in their right hand or in the space between their eyes, so that no one would be able to buy or sell, except for those that had the stamp or the name of the living beast or the number 666 of his name. Right translation in Greek by Dr. Malachi Z. York. What you have just read tells you of your very future. Many of you may not yet fully understand, but you will. A beast, in the Old Testament, is a symbol of a nation. The symbol of Leviathan is the seven-headed, 10-horned beast. This is the beast of prey and destruction, made up of the seven most powerful leaders of the new Roman Empire: England, Russia, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and the United States. These major powers have conspired the new One World Order. This new One World Order is very real, very dangerous, and very near. The plan for this world order is not new, but a very old one. If you check your soon-to-be extinct dollar bill, you will see that on the back read, Annuit Aseptus, Novus Ordo Seclorum. This means, our enterprise has been crowned with success, a new social order or New Deal. Understand that this is not the extent of their plan. They intend on taking many of you into slavery. Many of you will be put in detention camps, or concentration camps, as they are also called. Notice all of the base closures. What are they doing with these areas? These military bases are equipped with high fences, barbed wire, barracks, and whatever else they need to get and keep these camps going. But let's break down this one world order, as described by the scriptures. The beast was to have 7 heads. There are 7 areas of nations on the face of the earth, as previously mentioned. The new world order will be a global order throughout these nations, who are crowns worn by kings, and a king must have a kingdom to exercise his power as a king. So, throughout the earth, there will be a one world order, one government, that will break down into 10 provinces or minor kingdoms within the one kingdom. The world leaders, 7 heads and 10 horns, under the rule of the United States, are busy building a political, economic empire in all 4 corners of the planet Earth. They are one nation under their god, Leviathan, moon god named Sin, indivisible. They also constitute the European Common Market, which is the foundation of the New World Order. It was established in 1957 AD, to unite the nations after World War II and to ensure the world that such a war would not happen again. The European Common Market, with its headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, in the same building as the computer IBM 3666, the beast capable of holding 20 pages of information for over 220 million human beings. This is confirmation that they plan to control the world. All the major powers are European countries except the United States. Europe was chosen because it is very powerful in heavy industry. United States is the second largest nation in the manufacturing of iron, steel, and coal. The United States and Europe, together, will control the world, because they will be the suppliers to everyone. The non-members will be destroyed. But, you love Western culture, technology, and business. Now, where do you go? What do you do? There is a solution. But your solution all depends on who you are. The leaders and propagators of this one or new world order have plans for you. They plan on making you their slaves, and if you are of no use to them, then they plan on exterminating you. But you that seek death will not find death. You will live in a torturous time, Revelation 9:6. Now, what will you plan for yourself? Elion has a plan for his people. Zephaniah 3:19-20, Malachi 3:16-18, 4-1, Daniel 12:1-4, to you that turn from this message, it will tap you on the shoulder and slap you in the face. To you that heed this message and seek a true solution through Elion, who is Anu of the original tablets, Enuma Elish, Atrahasis, Adifa, the descent of Ishtar to the underworld, Tammuz and Ishtar, the Gilgamesh epics, and Etana. Many of the unknowing and ignorant may and will claim this to be in the distant future. But they are just that, unknowing and ignorant. The microchip that they plan to insert into your hand or forehead has already been invented by Dr. Charles Sanders. These microchips are so small they could be implanted right underneath your skin with a hypodermic needle without your knowing about it. They have already been implanted inside of pets to store information, such as a record of immunization, name and address of owners, and are used as tracking devices if the pet is lost. Now if this microchip can store simple information about a pet, think about what it can do for a human, or maybe even control a human? The microchip is the key in the New World Order. Many people mistakenly and blasphemously call the fashioner names other than what he has given you to call upon. He told you in Zephaniah 3:9, "Then will I turn to the nation of people a pure language that they may call upon the name of Yahuwah to slave for him with one consent." Right translation in Aramaic Hebrew by Dr. Malachi Z. York. The name El is spelled two ways in the ancient languages. One is El with the Aramaic, Hebrew, letters Aleph, lamed, which means the source of all. The other is El Ayin, lamed, meaning the highest. Both of these can be found in all the Semitic languages like Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic. They do not hold the same meaning. One, as stated earlier, come from Elion El, or in Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic, Al-Alyan Ali, and the Ayin, lamed, pertains to the highest. Don't forget the disagreeable or malevolent beings who also misuse these names. This is the same concept from the Bible, where you have a lineage from the benevolent or agreeable side of the family. Kenan, Canaan, Yurd, Jared, Kanok, Enoch, Methuselah, Methuselah, and Lamech, Genesis 5:9-21. And on the malevolent or disagreeable side of the family, Cain, Kanok, Enoch, Lirid, Irid, Makoiel, Mahujael, Methuselah, Methsael, and Lamech, Genesis 4:17-18. This is the same concept found in the scriptures, that was used for the names Elion, El, and Alayan. Now look at the word Elohim as found in the beginning of the scroll of Genesis, which has El as in Aleph, lamed at the beginning of it. This lets you know this is not the El of the Canaanites. It is falsely translated as God to give the impression that it's a single form, when in actuality, it is a plural because of the last two letters Yod, Mem, which is like adding an S to the end of a word. Throughout the Bible, the name Elohim is used for benevolent, good, angelic beings, Tobi, agreeable, and malevolent, bad, angelic beings, Ra, disagreeable. The Greek theos is equivalent to the Elohim. The name El in Aramaic, Hebrew, or Al-Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic, are on the end of the attributes of the angelic beings, as in the names Michael, who dares to be like El, Daniel 10:13, and Gabriel, warrior of El, Daniel 9:21. However, all names that end with El in English does not mean that they are from El, as in the name Aharhel, meaning a following host, Chronicles 4:8. As you see, El is not at the end of the name in the Aramaic, Hebrew language, or even in the name Yael, who is the wife of Heber a Kenite, descendants of Midian, that means mountain goat, wild goat. Notice this name has Ayin, lamed, not Aleph, lamed. The name Elohim, El-Roi, El Elyon, all begin with El. So El is the beginning and El is the ending. The first and the last, or in Greek Alpha and Omega. This is Anu. The Ul can't be the first what or of what? When Abraham was sanctioned by Malachi Zodok, Melchizedek, meaning angel of justice, also called Murdoch, he started destroying all the idols that his father Terah was making, because Melchizedek had introduced him to a deity called Elion El, which is where the shortened form El or El comes from. Genesis 14:20, and blessed be Elion El, the Most High, who have delivered your, Abraham's, enemies, the Mesopotamian army, into your hands. And he gave him, Melchizedek, a tenth of all he owned. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Another point is the use of the word God. I should tell you that there are human beings who actually believe in myths and theories, because of what they were taught about this word God. Beliefs in these myths and theories have sent people to their graves, because they don't do any research about their religions or their so-called gods. Instead, they do things like, if their child is sick, they won't take the child to the doctor. They would rather sit around and believe that if they pray to their so-called God, their baby will get better. Or if they get laid off from their job, somehow the God that they believe in will provide for them and their family, instead of making a job for themselves or trying to find another. For example, putting food on your table, clothes on your back, or even paying your bills, and I could go on and on. These people believe that if they have enough faith in this word God, things will get better. This is again because of the spell of Kingu, that has you ignorant and keeps you in the spell of religion because you will not take the responsibility for your life into your own hands. It is much easier to rely on someone else. According to you Christians or Jews by whatever denomination, your God is supposed to be the all-providing, and to you Muslims by whatever sect, your God Allah according to Quran 51:58 is he who gives, and I quote, "For Allah is he who gives all." The Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word used here is Razak, the 17th attribute, meaning the provider. This God spelled with all capital letters is supposed to be according to you, the big G that provides all things, correct? Well, what about the many people who die in plane crashes? When an airplane is flying in the air and suddenly there's a problem, however no one aboard seems to know exactly how to stop the plane from crashing. Is this God going to stop the plane in mid-air, before it hits the ground? Or is it God who allows things like this to happen? Which God is it? Is it the big G or little g that can prevent things like AIDS? Who is the God who is responsible for the life-threatening disease AIDS, big G or little g? Terrorism, who's responsible, big G or little g? Genesis 2:7, and Yahuwah of the Elohim shaped Adam, Zakar, from Nimki's clot of granulated blood from the people of the ground. They gave him the breath of divine life and Adam was born a spirit. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. This is part of the account of reconstruction, which is the word berasht, which is often mistranslated as to create, shape or form when it actually means shape or form as in reconstruction, making something from that which was already in existence. Berasht is translated into English as the word Genesis, coming from the Greek word genos, meaning a particular kind or kindred. Genesis is the origin or genealogy of the Elohim, meaning these beings, Adamites, and the Enoshites, Enoshites, meaning mortals. In everyday life, scientists are proving that a certain species have been on the planet longer than many believe. Some say millions of years. But it is generally agreed and proven that man has been on the earth longer than a few, or even, several thousand years. How can this be? According to a widely accepted myth, man was created 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. Not true, man was procreated 49,000 years ago. Else scriptures in the Aramaic, Hebrew, do not say when God created man in his image, it does not say his name was Adam. Genesis 1:27, and God created man in his own image, in the image of God he him. This man is Ha-Adama, which is plural and means those of the ground. Yes. That means people actually lived before Adam and Eve. It is not until the second half of this quote that it is referring to the creation of Adam and Eve, male, Zakar, and female, Nekeba, created he them. Note that Adam is similar to the word atom. An atom is a tiny particle, of which all things are made of. Adam is the Aramaic, Hebrew, word for ground and the name of the first people known to you on the earth with knowledge of, both good and evil, Adamites. Dam means blood in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, and if you had a bucket of blood, it would turn into a brown mound of dirt. Now do you see? Adam was made from the dust of the ground or congealed blood. Chapter 96 of the Quran, the separation of cells, you are descendants of the Adamites, through Abraham. But, Adam and Hawa, Eve, were not the first people. And not all of the Adamites are chosen. Note, Cain, was cursed, as was Cam's, Ham, son Canaan, who are all the descendants from the Adamites. According to widely accepted myth, Zakar, Adam, and Nekeba, Hawa, Eve, were the first man, Adam, and woman, Nekeba Hawa, Eve, to walk the earth. This is a lie, and those who accept this lie, or myth, do not know the scriptures. First of all, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, was not the first scriptures to be sent. There were tablets that existed before the scriptures, such as the Enuma Elish, which are 7 tablets, and Gilgamesh epics, which are 3 tablets, as I previously mentioned. If you do not believe that Nakash, the whisperer, Genesis 3:1, would make it hard to find the truth and hide it from you, then you do not know Nakash. You must know your enemy in order to overcome and conquer that enemy. These ancient tablets clear up the metaphoric speech and hidden secrets of the book of Genesis. But, since you are only familiar with Genesis, I will deal with that. Genesis 13:16, and I will make all of your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if any living being can number the dust of the planet earth, then may your whole seed also be numbered. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. The dust of the earth is used again, as a metaphor, in comparison to an amount or number of people. Genesis 1:26, and the Elohim, Anunnaki said amongst themselves, now let's breed, clone people Homo sapiens of this planet Earth, Adamites looking just like ourselves, Anunnaki and acting like ourselves, and we will give them rulership over the fish of the sea, and birds of the skies, and over all of the non-speaking mammals, and all of the creeping things that creep upon the planet Earth. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. The S is, obviously, the Elohim. After their creation, 76 trillion years ago, Anu used them to do his will. At one time, these Elohim Anunnaki come to earth in Genesis 6:4. When the Elohim said that Zakar, Adam, and Nekabah, Hawa, Eve, were brought forth from dust of the earth, that was not to be taken in a magical, spooky sense, Genesis 2:7. They were both born from a father and a mother. Nekabah's parents were Ptah and Anath, and Zakar's parents were Adam and Lilith. Let's go to the curse put on Nekabah. Genesis 3:16, to Eve, Nekabah, he said, I'm going to increase the pains during labor and conception. In fact, you will give birth through pain, and even right after that pain you will desire sexual intercourse with your husband. And in it he has no pain, and he will dominate you. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Now, the key to this phrase is greatly mutably. This phrase speaks as though childbearing had taken place before and was not as painful. Up to this point Nekabah, Eve, had bore Zakar, Adam, no children, so how could Yahuwah greatly multiply something that has never happened rather than just making it painful? But, he said that he would increase it or make it worse. This means, that it had happened before Nekabah. Genesis 4:2, and she added on another his brother Abel the breath of life the shepherd, and his twin sister Luboda, and in time Cain became a farmer. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. As earlier stated, Nakash, Shaitan, Satan, Samael, Elkanah, Halel and his followers were bound to dwell on Eretz, earth. He and his followers were 200 in number. They are not to be mistaken for the 1/3 of the malevolent, disagreeable, Elohim Revelation 12:4, cast out of Elin, with his father Zun, Enzu, Tarnush, Beelzebub, Shachar towards Orion and into the star constellation known as Dracos. After the Great War between Dracos, the star constellation in the 18th galaxy called the Milky Way, and Murdoch, the name of Nibiru, a mother plane and planet ship, which was controlled by Michael, head of the archangels. Zun, out of his jealousy over Michael and his position as head of the Anunnaki, the only true Elohim, started the war by shooting a bomb, called a shield depleter, at the dome atmosphere that covers the planet Rizq, the 8th planet in the 19th galaxy of Elin. These beings of Dracos were Zun's helpers, and they were reptilian. Yisrael JS, the Aramaic, Hebrew, name of the nation the many call Israel of El scriptures. Yisrael is said to mean, Prince of El, as found in Genesis 32:28. The people of Yisrael are descendants of Abraham. The people of this nation, which does include Ishmael, and Midian, fourth son of Keturah, by Abraham serve one, named El. And were the chosen people that received and upkept the laws of Yahuwah, Leviticus 18:26, 30, 26:26. El made a promise never to fully turn away from his people, that he may, again look favorable upon them for returning back to him, Leviticus 26:42-46 and Malachi 3:6 and 7. You have accepted the law and will, again be gathered. This time forever, for your judgment is near. Jeremiah 38:11, Deuteronomy 31:21 and Malachi 3:16-18. The covenant has not been taken away from Yisrael, Israel. But, you must uphold your part, by not worshipping Baal, Judges 8:33. You have a symbol for the covenant, that has been given to you, that you hold. This symbol is made up of 2 triangles. One facing up and the other facing down. The 6-pointed star symbol of the sun. The triangle facing upward, represents Yisrael, Israel, the covenant promise, by following the laws prescribed for you, and raising yourselves to a higher level. The triangle facing down, represents Yishmael, Shmael, the covenant of flesh. The triangle facing down, must lay on top of the triangle facing up, because the scepter was passed to Muhammad from Judah. Otherwise the interlocking one, is a corrupt symbol and does not represent the symbol to the covenant of Yisrael, Israel, or Ishmael. The shield goes all the way back to Abraham. All of his seed, the Israelites, the Ishmaelites, and the Midianites, fall under this symbol of the sun Shamash. A covenant is an oath or solemn and binding agreement or compact. It is an agreement or oath between 2 parties to keep a promise. Yahuwah has made covenants with his chosen people, the Enoshites. As a matter of fact, there are quite a few covenants mentioned in the scriptures. Some were everlasting and some were not. Genesis 17:10-13, Isaiah 55:3, 61-8, Jeremiah 32:40, Ezekiel 16:60, Ezekiel 37:26. In these covenants, Yahuwah made agreements with and promises to his servants. The first covenant was a promise made to Noah, in Genesis 9:16-17. The token of this covenant between Yahuwah and Noah, was the bow that would be seen through the cloud. What is meant by bow is the shape of the ship. It has an arch-like shape of the top of the ship, which is a mothership, an aircraft. He promised to never flood the whole earth again and gave you the bow as a reminder of his promise to human and all creature of flesh. The second covenant was with Abraham, and the act of circumcision was the token. All of the males with Abraham's tents, as well as his descendants, were to be circumcised, Genesis 17:14. This type of covenant is called Berith Milah or Millet in Aramaic, Hebrew. Berith meaning a covenant in a sense of cutting, a compact made by passing pieces of flesh, and Milah in Aramaic, Hebrew, and in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, meaning rite or ritual, and refers to the faith of the person or the ritual of the religion. Circumcision is commonly known as the covenant of flesh with Ishmael, Genesis 17:10, also known in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, is Ada, which means to cut. The third covenant was that of promise that was given to Yitzchak, Isaac, Genesis 17:7-8. The fourth covenant was with Moses, and found in Exodus 6:4 and Exodus 34:27. In this covenant, the people of Israel were to follow the laws and was given the land of Canaan, whenever the covenant was broken by the people. Israel was taken into captivity for a time by the Nubian Babylonians and the Nubian Syrians, who were still following the ways of ancient Sumer from the Elohim Anunnaki. Yahuwah Elohim promises a covenant of the future that can be found in Jeremiah 31:31-34, 32:36-41. This goes hand in hand with Malachi 3:6 and Revelation 21:7. As the Son of Righteousness removes the lies. He is Dr. Malachi Z. York. Overstand that you have statutes to uphold and earn. You will receive your inheritance promised to you by the Elohim. If you are prepared for it. Read Revelation 7:9 and 21:2-4, 6, 7:24-26, 22:14. Surah 3:15, 972, 37:41-49, 55:46-77 and 98-8. Know the truth and the truth will make you free, John 8:32. As you can now see, you have been the target of Nakash's black and white devil's bombardment of lies and confusion. The Elohim has told you in Ecclesiastes 7:29, that he has created man upright, but you have grown to seek the inventions of men. He tells you in Micah 7:5, don't have faith in friends, don't put your confidence in a guide, keep the opening of your mouth from her that lie down sexually in your bosom. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. You must trust only in facts, not some spooked out promise. If you follow me you'll have eternal life. Do not allow yourselves to be beguiled like Zachar, Adam, and Nekabah, Eve, were in the garden. You have read of his way for you. That way is straight and narrow and few will enter. Quran 1-6-7, 7:16, Matthew 7:14. Do not trust in man's inventions or traditions. Open your eyes and you will find my words to be true, and as I have always said, don't believe me, go check it out. Allow yourselves the opportunity to live your natural way of life, righteously. Do not be caught in the web of lies of so-called religion. Heed the call for all Enoshites, to accept truth in order for you to be worthy of the key of life for your soul's sake, before it's too late. The time is now.